Testing one. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
We're definitely on now.
Well, you
I
are.
believe you now, sir. If it's Tuesday night and it's 6 o'clock, it must be All Things Brunswick 2.0. So we welcome you back to our show. I'm Bill Moore, one of the co hosts.
Mary Stillwell.
And Dan Roman.
Again, welcome you back to All Things Brunswick. We got a great show. Those of you who were with us 2 weeks ago, remember this gentleman being here, and he had such a fascinating conversation with us. We decided he was worthy of another show. We haven't done that with many people. So I want to congratulate him for impressing everybody so much that we brought him back for a second run. So, Mary, why don't you introduce him?
I will. We'd like to welcome Jonathan Uzcategui. You've got the key.
She was close, though.
I was trying.
It was better than last time,
Just
right?
remember, who's got the key?
Yeah. He's the vice chair of the Hispanic Outreach for the NCGOP and his wife, Hope. And he is back joining with us this evening. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for the invite.
You want to start?
No, you go ahead.
When you were here last time, you talked about the fact you were Venezuelan by birth, American by choice, and you made some very profound statements. And I think probably the most profound you made was at the very end of the show when you told everybody consider the fact that if America goes away, there is no freedom, and where do you go? I mean, you closed the show with that line, which was absolutely phenomenal. Uh, so, you want to expound on that a little bit, or should we go a different direction, sir?
No, it's okay. I mean, I feel like it's the reality. You know, so if you see what's going on right now in our borders, right? We have people from all over the world doing everything they can, sacrificing everything from all over the world, coming here. What does it tell you? What does it tell you when all these people are willing to do whatever it takes to cross our border, the dangers, you know, paths that they had to go through to come to this great nation? That tell you right there that everybody in the world understand we are the last dominable freedom in this world. All these immigrants understand very well, like myself, that the American is the last stand for any freedom in this earth. So I think a lot of people that were born and raised here have taken that for granted. They don't understand the magnitude of this problem. If this nation, you know, fall, that's it. Where will we all go? Sometimes I tell people when I go all over the state, what do you think, Canada or Mexico, right? As a joke. But in reality, it's not a joke. It's a reality. You know, this is it. We have to do everything we can to make sure that this American dream, this great nation stand up and doesn't go down the way some people would like to see it going down. I don't even think they understand the magnitude of the problem. Because if this country turn into a communist state, it will be sad. It will be really, really sad.
If I may ask, I know that our schools are very important, and what we teach our children are very important. Can you reference to some similarities in your country and what is happening in our schools now?
Sure. So, see, Venezuelan history, right? After we got, see, Venezuelan history, our independence came 35 years after the United States of America got their independence, and the day after, too. So we, as United States became independent from England, they asked George Washington to become a king. He refused that idea and became our first president for 2 terms. Venezuelans decided to go a different route, where we allow the generals to be the dictators of our country into earlier 1960. That's when we got rid of our last dictator. What happened when we got rid of our last dictator? We started implementing all those ideas that our founding fathers in Venezuela gave us. They came here to this great nation, took a lot of the ideas and brought it to Venezuela. Venezuela, for those that don't know, was a republic with 3 branches of government. We had a constitution. And we have, you know, in earlier 1960, we started implementing democratic elections. But it took 50 years from our last dictator to the rise of Hugo Chavez. Why did this happen? It was because, see, the socialists in Venezuela, when we got rid of our last dictator, put a plan. You know, you don't see it in the moment because, one, I was so young. 2, I didn't understand politics the way I understand now. It was to completely take over academia in Venezuela. If I look back into Venezuela, right, you go to the universities, in the Communist Party, it was so strong in our university. That's pretty much what you see right now in the majority of the universities in United States. You know, we call them the left, but in reality, it's communism. It's not the left. It's communism in our universities. And what happened is what a best way to take over a country like they did in my native country is through a cultural revolution. See, people understand, they understand, these communists understand that you cannot take a country anymore in the 21st century by force because, like you see in Ukraine, people will rise up and fight. We have a lot of veterans in this country. We have a lot of guns in this country. I don't think they're that stupid to take this country by force because people will rise up and they will fight. So the best way to do it is through a cultural revolution. In my native country, we use the old-fashioned European, the Industrial Revolution, where we started spreading these messages that the rich man was getting richer, the poor man was getting poorer, and Chavez ran into that. He was going to give the power back to the people, where he was going to bring the equity, meaning we all were going to be equal, miserable. And he used a lot of people, and the best way to use is when you take control of the academia. Think about the best way to pass narratives is through lawyers. Those lawyers one day become the judges. Doctors, those doctors might one day become in the health department. Architects, engineers. This is the guys that one day are going to be working in your county projects, city projects, government projects, and they will bring their ideologies to everything. And we will not see it when that happened. We didn't saw it. See, I remember, and I have talked to so many Venezuelans in the past, and I asked him about our last dictator. His name was Marcos Perez Jimenez. During the Marcos Perez Jimenez regime, Venezuela was going through, because of our oil, we had more oil in Saudi Arabia, and we were so rich. A lot of people would tell me from that era, close to the era, that he was a great president. And I always let him speak, I always let him talk, and they'll, no, he was a great guy because he did build, like Adolf Hitler, a lot of roads, hospitals, stadiums. You mentioned it, airports. The guy was built. He put a lot of people to work, and I let them speak. And this is very well educated people from Venezuela, professionals. And I let them talk, and after they finished talking, I said, well, now let's talk about how many people died, disappeared, and got put in jail because they didn't agree with that guy. And then I always finish a conversation when we go back and forth. If he was such a great president, why did he have to flee through some underground tunnels from our White House? El Palacio de Miraflores is our White House in Venezuela. We have some underground tunnels that go from the White House to some airport. Why did he have to flee? Because they were going to kill him if he was such a great president, right? So, but what happened was that we forgot to teach this history, how bad socialism was. See, you guys don't understand this. We have a president, right now, it's like an inter-president. They got elected supposedly by the people. Juan Guaido, right? Even this government was supporting backing Juan Guaido, but Juan Guaido is a socialist. See, this is something that when you indoctrinate people for so long, it's really hard to reprogram. It's like, see, right now what I see in this nation, it is, they're not after us. They're not, I'm almost 50 years old. They're not after the adults here. They're after the children. They want to make sure these kids get indoctrinated and become this activist, socialist. See, because socialist to them is a religion and the government is God. So you figure when you have all these children growing up thinking that, especially with what I believe is their secret weapon right now, is inclusion. Inclusion is about transgenderism, homosexuality, and desensitizing our children for not believing in the nuclear family and God. So if you can do that and tell these children that everybody hate them, oh my gosh, everybody hate you for who you are, or whatever the situation they create, they confuse their mind. These kids grow up to feel like, well, everybody hate me. But wait a second, there's a movement out there that are supporting us. LGBTQ plus. It's a Marxist. Marxist is all about identity politics and political correctness, right? And when you see this move be the one that the LGBTQ plus is a religion, and they always end with the government's going to be the one to protect you. Like you see, the biggest concern for this administration right now, it is the LGBTQ. I mean, I'm looking at it. The border is wide open. We have millions of people going. I have friends in the what is that network? America Voice News. I have some guys that work in that network, and sometimes they send me messages and private messages and videos. And what do you think about this, Jonathan? Some of those guys want me to take them back to Venezuela. I said, I don't think so. I'm not going over there. I'll get kidnapped over there, and probably they'll kill me, especially if they find out how much I talk about the administration, the previous administration in Venezuela. So I go like, wow, this country's borders are wide open. You know, we don't know who's coming in.
True.
I'm concerned about this. See, I came here legally, right? I did everything by the book. And when I see illegal immigration, and I'm saying some people are coming, they're good people. They're great people, you know. But we don't know who's coming. And the way I describe illegal immigration is like this. Think about being in a grocery store, right? And it's a big line, and you're ready to pay your groceries. And then somebody with a shopping cart full of groceries cut in front of all of you. And the cash register decides to say, let me take you first. Everybody in the line is going to be like, what the heck? What are we making this line for, right? But it doesn't stop there. The cash register say, oh, everything you're getting is free. And you're like, but I'm going to have to pay for my groceries, and I make this line. And I got places to be and whatever. But it doesn't stop there. That cash register turn around and tell everybody on the line, all of you are going to have to pay for this person's groceries. Oh. That's how I describe illegal immigration. That's my analysis, how I see illegal immigration. So I feel that we should be addressing that, but instead we're addressing fighting the state of Florida because they passed a legislation about not indoctrinating our children in a school. We need educators. We don't need activists in our classrooms because that's what you're seeing right now. These people are, the good thing about all I see now, that at least we know their intention. We know exactly where the enemy is. So that's an advantage for us to see, identify the enemy, and exactly create a strategy to counter their masses. Because if these people accomplish their goal, and I'm not a pessimist, I give one generation to two, there will be a communist state. Because think about it. You have one generation teaching the next generation that this country is a racist country, a bad country, patriarchy, and this and that, dismantle the nuclear family, the sensitization of the children. God is not real. The government's going to protect you. Mm-hmm. All those kids one day will be adults and they'll have children. They're going to walk straight to the polls. And they will put like Venezuelan did. Right. And know they're Hugo Chavez. And there's nothing we can do because they'll turn around and say, hey, all the election integrity got fixed. We did it the democratic way. There's nothing you can do about it. We would not be able to stop this. So that's the reason that we have to get involved, like you guys are doing right now, like I am doing my wife. And, we're just trying to make sure that we we fight back against this.
Do you think that we're seeing over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks with the Disney fiasco for Disney, and Elon Musk buying Twitter, that everything's being exposed that they've been doing for the last 50 years. Do you think that this is a turning point where things are going to start changing, or do you think it'll continue down the path that you're talking about?
Well, there's a lot of many things can happen, right? Like I say, I'm a very optimistic. That's what I'm doing this because I feel that we can turn this around. But I rather not see something like that and say, we got this. No, I want to always play like we're running behind. I'm not going to take what Elon Musk and hopefully he stick to what he say. I feel sometimes, because I don't know too much about him, but I feel, well, he's an immigrant. They came here. He did very well. So in my head, I'm going, he might be just like I am. I'm an immigrant. They came here for another country. Did very well for myself. So it's time for me to repay and give back to this great nation. So that's just the way I see that he's probably doing the same thing. But he also got to think about this. If it is turning into a communist country, who is going to sell electrical cars? Who?
So do you think, Jonathan, that we need to change the curriculum in our schools and scrutinize what is taught to our children a lot better?
Well, this is what I will propose, right? And hopefully, to me it's inevitable. One day I'm going to have to step even deeper into the fight and run for office, right? But I tell you, when I decide to do that, one of my platforms is going to be, we're going to abolish sex education in the state of North Carolina for good. We have to do something very drastic in order for us to have the pivot that you just mentioned. Elon Musk doing that, well, that's a good thing if he does stick to what he say. We don't know what he's going to do. But it's up to us, all of us, all hands on deck. And I will think that's something that I will run in. Abolish completely our sex education in the school. Because that's where all the nonsense coming from our so-called sex education. We need to abolish that. We need to make sure all our schools, before we start, we pray, we say the Pledge of Allegiance, and we start going back to basis. Start teaching American history. I know that American history is not going to be pretty all the time, and it's good that we can talk about everything, the bad and the good, right? But I think the first thing I would like to see is abolish completely our sex education. The school system should not be teaching sex education. They always talk about diversity. They always talk about inclusion. Let me tell you something. The way I want to teach my children is not probably the way you want to teach your children, or the way you see things in your home and the way you see things in your home. And I'm pretty sure some of these parents here can agree with me. We're all going to see it differently. So how can we leave one entity to push the way they see this sex education? I tell you, I'll probably do some compromise with the left. And the compromise.
I got money on that.
No, but hear me out. The compromise will be, all right, you want to teach this sex education? Let's do it. To the parents. Teach the parents. Let them find out exactly what you're trying. That's my compromise. You want to teach it, right? By all means. Have Zoom calls with all the parents. Have meeting with all the parents. You know what we'll do? We start actually getting the parents involved. We need to start holding these parents accountable to make them get involved in their children. I see this thing because I used to, when I had my children in public school, I used to go one of my children almost every day to lunch with this kid. My wife and I, Hope and I, almost every day, right? And I never saw a parent going to lunch. Every once in a while. And I was like, man, how can... And I understand people don't have time, they're working, whatever. But at least make an effort once every 2 months. Get an excuse from work, right? And say, look, I'm going to have lunch with my son or my daughter. I never saw in that year, and I remember these things. So we need to start holding these parents accountable. Say, listen, you got to get involved in your children's life. Make sure that these teachers, I think if the teachers will see the parents more getting involved, we would not see what we've been seeing in this country.
And to be fair, there's a lot of teachers that I know of that want the parents more involved and ask for it. Unfortunately, the parents don't follow through. So your point is very valid.
Yeah, but at the same token, as a former principal, I do know that there are programs out there that can be implemented immediately to get parents involved. One of the things that we found very successful when I was principal in Chowan County was a program called Watchdogs. It's DOGS with the periods.
I was
That's-
a watchdog.
Yep. Watch and
Yeah.
DOGS stands for Dads of Great Students.
Yes.
And we set up a program where we screened
Yes.
parents to come in, and the dads spent a day running around the building and seeing what's going on,
Yes.
and talking to kids.
Yeah, I was part of that program at one point.
Then you know how successful
Yeah,
it is.
it was
and
good. It was good. You started to seeing some parents coming around, and it was good to see. You're right. It was good to see that. But that's the one thing that I would do. See, we had to do something very drastic, and that's something that I will push. Abolish sex education from school, bringing God back to schools. We're praying before the school start. We saying the Pledge of Allegiance before the school start. If you don't want to pray, you can execute your First Amendment right, sit down and do whatever you want, or look at the skies. But when school should be started with pray. Look, I got the opportunity to be safe in this country. I got saved in this country. I got to know who Jesus Christ was in this country. This country is blessed the way it is because God is here. We need to make sure we go back to basics, get closer to God, show these children to have some fear of God. And I'm not pushing my religion on anybody, right? But they get the right to push their nonsense on us, and we don't do something to drop the line and say that's enough is enough. We tried their way. Look where it got us to. How do you think you have all these corporations like Disney World, Coca-Cola, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, major corporations in the United States are teaching their employees diversity, equity, and inclusion? Coca-Cola has something where they talk about, we need to talk about your white privilege. I would hate to work in a place like that. Did somebody tell me that I need to be ashamed of who I am on the color of my skin? Last time I checked, that's racist, right? But why are they doing this? Because those children, they got indoctrinated by these liberal professors, became one day the executive of these companies, the CEO. Venezuelan 2.0. It was the wealthy who brought Hugo Chavez in power because they thought that, we're going to be able to control Chavez when he get in power. When Chavez realized how much power he has. See, these politicians, all these activists don't understand how much power a tyrannical president can have with the executive branch. They are in charge of the guns. Chavez understood that very well, So that's what you're seeing in the school system. All this agenda being passed, and they're trying to change, like something that I noticed big I've been noticing for a long time, how they're feminizing our men in school, the TV shows, the music. They bring all these, singers from. There's a group right now from South Korea. What's this? Some group that I saw from South Korea. They probably know that the name of that group. It's a South Korea group. It's called. God, what is the name of that group? There it is. What's the name of the group? BTS. That-
Never heard of them.
See, a lot of people in this country don't see it, but that's an agenda. Look at all those children in that group. To me, it's propaganda 101. Look at all those children in that group. They all look like girls. They want girls to be attracted to that type of men. So what are the guys are going to do to be able to have a girl pay attention to them? They have to start looking like that. Feminizing our men. So one day, these men are so feminized, they're not going to stand up when they see something wrong happen in front of them. Tyranny can appear right in front of them. They're so feminized that they're not going to stand up and fight. They will not.
I think we're about reaching that point where it's time to take a break.
Yes.
But we
Okay.
have one commercial that we're reading first, and then we're going to do a break.
All right.
Maybe.
We
Then
do-
again, maybe not.
You have to give me a heads up.
Heads up. You got it.
Okay.
This is
All
not
right.
the Ace Hardware
ready.
commercial. We're ready now.
Okay.
Go.
All right. The clerk of court makes legal decisions that affect the lives of Brunswick County citizens daily. The current clerk of court, who is an attorney, has demonstrated this for many years. Katie Maiden has practiced law for over 10 years. To ensure that this quality of service continues, vote Katie Maiden for clerk of courts. Paid for by the committee to elect Katie Maiden.
And now we have some other commercials that we need to pay and some bills with.
By the committee to elect Judge Michael Stadding. As a member of the United States Air Force, I stand for our nation. As a prosecutor, I took a stand against violent criminals. As an attorney for the Fraternal Order of Police, I took a stand for law and order. As a sitting conservative judge, I stand for our Constitution. And as a judge on the Court of Appeals, I will stand up for you. Vote for a battle-tested conservative. Stand with Stadding. Michael Stadding is a reservist for the United States Air Force. Use of his military rank, job titles does not imply endorsement by the Department of the Air Force or the Department of Defense.
Our founders expected judges to apply, not make, our laws. I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. More than 20 years ago, I began my legal career by joining the Marine Corps and taking an oath to support and defend the United States Constitution. As a justice on our state Supreme Court, I will continue to protect the Constitution by basing my rulings on the founders' intent, not my personal views. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
My name is Brian Wilson. I'm running for District Court Judge. During my lifetime, I've gone from protecting your God-given and constitutional freedoms as a combat vet of the U.S. military to working locally as a carpenter building homes while I worked my way through college. For the past 17 years, I've been protecting and defending your constitutional rights in the courtroom. I'm currently protecting our rights of our most vulnerable, our children, as the guardian ad litem attorney advocate for the children of Brunswick, Columbus, and Bladen County. I've spent my career serving our country, our state, and our communities, so I ask that you continue your confidence by voting for me, Brian Wilson, in the primary elections on May 17th. Thank you.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you or a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Welcome back to All Things Brunswick 2.0. We're heavily in a conversation with a good friend of ours who has so much to share with us and so much information. We almost feel that we just leave the stage, give him the mic, and we'll come back when it's over. But before we do that, I want to just tell our audience that we're trying something different today. For the first time in the history of the show, we actually have a live audience. Yeah, we've actually brought our TARS representatives from Brunswick here, and we want to welcome you to the show, and glad you're here, and come back often and talk to us and tell us what's going on. And I know you work hard for the party, and you're out there doing whatever you need to do to become better. So we thank you. There are also some adults here. We actually have a sitting county commissioner with us today, and Marty's here, and we want to thank him for sitting in, and we have some other guests too. So this is our first attempt at having a live audience, and we figured you were the right man to have here to do that because everyone is fascinated by what you say. So there's no chance for them to act up and give us grief. So this is how we did this. Anyway, I'm going to hit you with a question, which I was listening to the radio on this morning, and a bunch of Senate candidates in a different state couldn't quite answer. So I know if there's one man that can answer that question, it's you.
It was four Senate candidates, and which state was that?
Would be Pennsylvania.
I think I heard a little bit.
I heard about this too.
Okay.
A little bit. I
The
think.
question they couldn't answer was, explain what America First means.
They couldn't answer that question.
No.
Well, I don't think they should be running for office. I think this is something that we have to understand. That when you say America First, we're putting everything in front. Our economy is going to be number one. Our principles got to be number one. We got to put ourselves first before any other country. I believe that we have to, in order to be able to help others, we have to take care of ourselves. It's like when you're in a plane, right? And they give you instruction. In an emergency, you get oxygen first, and then you assist the person next to you. United States has a lot of problems right now. I feel that we have to be completely take care of all the issues that we have in our nation. I believe that we need to start sending too much money to foreign countries. I believe we need to close our border. See, we need to start taking care of infrastructure in the nation. Our problems where, our education system is being compromised for so long. Our symbols of patriotism. Now we have people, they don't want to stand up for the national anthem. They don't want to do all these things to show they're proud to be Americans. And the reason you hear and probably see people like that is because they might not be true conservatives. They might not be true Republicans. How can you not be an America First candidate today? This is no longer Democrat against Republicans. It is freedom against dictatorship. This is what these people want. They want communism in this country. So we have to put our nation first, our symbols of patriotism first, our country in general. Our borders got to be closed. We need to stop sending money to all these foreign countries that they don't even like us. They hate the United States, but then we go and give them money. This is something that, how can I be a foreigner, a person that was not born here, and I feel that that's the way we should be running this country? And you have these people that were born and raised here, and they feel they don't want to say they're American first, or they don't understand that because they don't want to offend somebody. That's the reason when you see candidates doing that today is because, I just don't want to offend somebody, because being America is shame. Shame on you for being American first. You must be a racist, a white supremacist. Who knows these people? But it's sad. I think I heard a little bit about that. That's shame on these people. Shame on them.
Seems to me you can answer the question real well, and you might make that senator's position, but we're not sending you to Pennsylvania. We can't afford to lose you here, so you're staying with us.
Oh, yeah.
So, you've kind of touched on this already, but let's wave the magic wand. You're now president. You're gonna. I know. You talked about closing the borders, and fixing the schools.
Yes,
What
sir.
other things do you think need to be priority?
Well, we need to start bringing manufacture back to the United States. We need to make sure we become a country that actually produce things. We're consumers. We don't produce nothing. We have to start bringing a lot of manufacturers back home. We need to start teaching in school trade education. We need more plumbers, electricians, builders that actually know what to do, right? So we don't have to depend on so much foreigners to come here and take jobs from American citizens that were born and raised here. You know, of course, this country is very generous that we allow immigrants to come here. Immigrants build this country, but we need to stop open those borders the way they are. If you see the videos that I get sometimes sent by this guy from American Newsboys, it is scare me. It scares me to see these things. So I feel we need to also stop spending too much money the way we are. We're printing money. That scares me because we started like that in Venezuela. We started printing money like it was, like Monopoly. We were just printing money. You know what happened when you start printing too much money? The currency was going to devaluate. See, we have to start having some personal responsibility. I would love to see Congress to stop signing bills the way they do. The majority of the time, they don't read these bills, and they just sign them.
Among all these things that you see need to change, if it were up to you and you had the authority to do so, what is the very first thing that you would address?
The first thing, wow, that's a very complicated one. I think would be just to start pushing Congress to become more aware of these term limits. I would like to see in this country legislation passed so we have term limits in the House and the Senate. We had it in the executive branch. Why can we not have it in the legislative branch? I would like to see that.
So you feel that if that were the case and you could fix that, that it would turn things around?
It will put people more in the take so much power from the legislative branch, by not having people 30 years in office making $160,000, but their net worth $30-40 million.
100 million in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, how can this is happening to us right in front of our face? We have created an oligarch, in our nation. It's so corrupted. It's starting to look like Italy, Venezuela. Yeah.
Well, would you tell us what you think of our military?
Oh boy.
Well,
Be careful, I'm a retired one of them.
no, it's nothing bad to say, but I have to be honest with you guys, right? I think we have the greatest military force in the world. I think we have great people serving this nation. They have got aim to serve this nation for the right reason. But if you look, I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor. I teach a lot of guys from MARSA, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Special Recon from the Marine Corps, Special Operations from Ranger. I have deal with so many people from different parts of the armed forces. The good guys are starting to come out. They're tired. What they're starting seeing in our armed forces. I have the sad encounter with some officers that think about this country as racist. They think about we need some equity. See, when you were in service, it was a different type of soldiers. Now you're starting to see some of these officers in there being very political in our armed forces. I mean, listen to the Secretary of Defense talking about. So, I mean, when you have the head of the leadership speaking on we need to focus on transgenderism in the military, diversity, white privilege. What does it tell you? That all the reason they're doing this is because they want those good guys to get out. That's why they push the vaccine to me. Because a lot of guys that believe the Constitution and felt that this is an unconstitutional, and I don't blame them. I'm not going to put something that I don't know what it is in my body. They started, look, I had a meeting, like, was it 2 months ago? 2 months ago, I was talking to these two colonels from the Army. And they were like, we're having, a great conversation with these two fellows. And they started talking to me and said, Jonathan, we have a problem bigger. Because I started talking like I'm talking to you guys. And they started asking me questions, and I'm answering. And they somehow, I understand what you're saying. We have right now, because of the vaccine implemented in the armed forces, we're looking to lose more than 100,000 soldiers. And those soldiers are the veteran ones. The ones are teaching the new soldiers coming in. Do you have any idea how long it's going to take us to replace these veterans? They have 15, 10 years. Wow. So if we replace we get rid of these good soldiers and we replace them with these soldiers that don't believe in the Constitution. They believe only in the paycheck. What do you think we're doing to our armed forces? We're creating a new type of soldier. It's like police forces, right? There's a lot of police forces where I know, I have this knowledge. I'm not going to call exactly who and where, but I have personal knowledge. I talk to a lot of people. I have personal knowledge where their police departments are teaching the diversity, equity, and inclusion in their departments, and they're creating a division within the force. What does it do? It make the good police officers say, I'm done. I can wait to give my whatever time it required for them to retire, and they want out. Wow. And they're attracting the new officers. They're going to go in there just for the paycheck. They're not going, Constitution. What Constitution? I saw a video one time in New York, right? This guy was a veteran holding an American flag, and the officer, NYPD lady, grabbed the flag, throw it on the floor, step on the flag. And the guy's like, what are you doing? I said, I don't care about you stupid flag. This is a police officer. And like that, you started seeing a lot of police officers. Something that I noticed, and maybe pay attention when you go out from this point forward, how law enforcement is not proactive the way it used to be. Right. They're like sitting, listen, I talk to a lot of, since I got into politics, I got the privilege to talk to a lot of captains from the police department, lieutenants from the police department, sergeant from the police department, and they're pretty much driving around, making the time, and praying that nobody called them to assist any problem, because they, one, they don't want to get fired, two, they don't want to get sued, and three, they might not want to go to jail for trying to do their job. Mm-hmm. So that's called the subordination of our police force. Mm-hmm. Who's going to want to do their job when you have all that pressure that every time I'm trying to do my job? So what you're doing, you put in pressure for all these people to get out. And the new ones are coming in. They're coming in just to make the paycheck. There's not about having a career with the law enforcement.
And I think they also, the people that are coming in now, are more inclined to follow the agenda that's being driven by the leadership.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're seeing that military, police, all of them, right down the line, which, again, got to be believing that's something that maybe Venezuela had done way back when. And we've seen it in other states where, they want control of the military. They want control of the police. and that's one way to get it.
But see, this is the thing. See, the problem that you see in a school, right? It's just a little tip of the iceberg. We have our police force. When we all focus on the children and we're going to fix all that, they're working right now and get rid of all the veterans in our sheriff department, in our, police department, in our armed forces, and they're replacing these people. See, fighting socialists is like playing whack-a-mole. You know that game, whack-a-mole? You hit them there, and they'll come up here. You hit them there, they'll come up here. They're really good in linguistics. Find out CRT. We all know what CRT is. Well, they take that, and now they have new names for that. They grab that because we find out that CRT was not good, and we're not teaching CRT. Now they call them different. They're repackaged. They take the idea back. They hurt behind the curtain, repackage, and bring it back with a new, different name. This is how these people do. That's what we need to make sure when we put people in office. They understand what they're facing in this country. Like I give you in an overall, even our county commissioners, right? I'm pretty sure in this county, in the next county, in a lot of county, we have great people, great leaders. But sometimes they don't recognize what the other side is doing. How can we have, and I don't know too much about this county, but I'm telling you about New Hanover County, we have passed unanimous the diversity, the equity, and the inclusion. You guys understand what unanimous means, right?
Like everybody?
Our sides are given the benefit that, sometimes they didn't know what it was. Some didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to be called racist or, they didn't want to take the heat. So they want to go under the radar with this thing. Listen, we got it, mate. Look, one thing that I learned in New Hanover County, and then it's pretty much all over the state. We have these companies that we bring from the West Coast. I'll give you a good example. Tech industries are coming to North Carolina. And the county show us, we're bringing 200 jobs. On paper. I know these things. What you don't know is that they bring 150 people relocated with those crazy ideas to these areas. Mm-hmm. They get paid a lots of money. So I have neighbors that came from Cali. They work from the house. They don't know nothing. They're living in a bubble. Nothing affect. They sold a house in Cali. They bought a huge house here. They get paid a crazy amount of money to work from home. But what do these people do? Elections come, and they go straight to the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. They bring all their money, and they start pumping it into our local elections. And somehow they change the demographic. How we go from red to purple, purple to blue. So we have to make sure that when we, as county commission, city council, state legislator, pay attention to these type of things. I want to bring jobs to North Carolina. I want a lot of jobs in North Carolina. But I want to make sure it's for North Carolinians. I don't want to bring jobs here on paper look like, we provided 200 jobs, but it was not the truth. Only was 50 for local people, and the 150 was relocation of all that nonsense from California or New York.
Wow.
Speaking a little further on creating jobs, we know that small business is the backbone of any economy. I believe they estimate about 80% of the businesses are small business. And, we also know that sometimes they bring in the big box stores and they knock out the Ace Hardwares and the little shops all the way around there, and suddenly more people are out of work than they create jobs. If you get the opportunity to work at a higher level, say at the state level, how do you work to make small business function better and protect them in the long term?
Well, we need to start making it more appeal with Take a look at all the regulations that we put. I was in I had a restaurant. Let me tell you, it is. You have to jump on some hooks to open a small restaurant. They make it so hard for you to open a restaurant.
Yep.
I have a gym. The things you have to do to open a gym. Right?
I know. Oh, yes, I know.
Okay. So why? Why they're doing that? They're doing this. To me, I look at it this way. A lot of elected officials maybe don't see it. Because, see, I came from a different perspective. The way I grew up in a third world country. And now I see all this nonsense here. To me, my eyes are wide open now. To me, it's like, okay, what's going on? Everything that sounds too pretty, I want to go under the table, see what's going on there. I'm always going to be like that. I look at it. Why did I see so many? And I'm traveling all over the state right now, and I am paying attention very carefully. You just don't see the moms and pop places anymore. They're closing.
Gone.
It's corporation. What happened during the pandemic? Corporations are pushing the agenda the government tells them to push. This is how I see the future of this country. We have to create what I see already, a chronic capitalism. It's as good as a communism. Because the government use all these corporations to bring also agendas. So we think, we're providing jobs and all that. We're making it very easy for these companies, corporations, because they have the name and the big bucks to open a business. But we make it hard on the small business.
Or we declare the big businesses essential, while
Exactly.
the small businesses were non-essential.
That was a good example.
That was planned.
When
all the
I
way
saw that, I was like, nobody's paying attention. This is chronic capitalism, 101. It's communism. When you allow the big corporations to be open, but they want my little restaurant and my little gym to be shut down because we didn't know how to handle the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
To me, it was like, this is wrong. But you know why they do that? Because they understand that the small business owner, when some crazy nonsense come through it, like I did, I said, my business are essential to me and my family. So I'm not closing my doors. So to them, it's like, man, that person, that little person, they're going to stand up. And if everybody sees them standing up, we're not going to have control. So that's the reason why we need to make sure we help the small business. Like actually going and start reviewing a lot of these regulations, give better tax cut to the small business so they can start creating that. Make it more appeal for people to open the small business in the state of North Carolina.
and support the ones that are open.
Exactly. And the ones that are open, go and reach out in a local level and the state level. What can we do without interfering too much? Because when the government get involved,
not good either.
everything go completely not good.
Sounds a person after my heart. We're getting close to the time we have to shut down, but I always have my favorite questions we have to hit people with. So my first question to you is tell us something about you that nobody knows.
I'm pretty much
That ain't working.
an open book. I mean,
Well, tell me about page 27 then. We're gonna go.
I'm pretty much an open book. I mean, like since I got I became a public figure. Pretty much everything is up there. If I forget something, if somebody bring it up, I'll go over. But it's not really.
All right, that ain't going to work. Hope, tell me something about him that nobody knows. And remember, you have to stay married.
You're the mic.
Which one?
You got the mic now, Hope. Go ahead. Tell us something about him that nobody knows. We do have 5 minutes we can look at each other, so this could work that way.
Let's see.
This wouldn't put your marriage on probation. Just give it a shot.
I'm trying to think what I should say.
Oh, she's got a list.
Well, let me give you hints. I know the lieutenant governor, for example, likes to watch real trains, not in train yards, not the ones that run around with Lionel. We have judges that love to recite poetry. We have some that are we have officials that are champion swimmers. We have all kinds of different hobbies that people do that nobody knows about. So tell us something about you that no one knows. And
I'll tell you one thing.
There we go.
had to dig for that one.
I am a big, big couch potato.
Really?
A couch potato.
Wait a minute. You own a
In what way?
jiu-jitsu studio.
If I'm not doing anything, I stay home and I don't
laughing.
move. I have a nice room that we put kind of like our movie room with some beautiful, huge couch, a huge TV, the whole. And when I go there, I can stay there all day without moving.
Good for
And
you.
you have a wife that lets you get away with that.
Nice.
Could you talk to my wife, please? This could be very useful. in the
That's
future.
something nobody knows.
That is something nobody does
was a
know
good
about
one.
you.
I'm a very huge couch. If I'm not for me when I'm out, it's got to be something productive. Like, okay, I got to go and do this. I got to go do that. But if I'm not doing anything, I stay home, and you will not see me leaving that house for days if I don't have nothing to do.
Okay.
And she can tell you that's the truth.
Hope you agree with that? Okay, then we'll let that one slide. You got the wife's approval, you're fine. We now have to pay our final bills and come back to close down a little bit. I'm going to start out with a commercial for one of our people. Katie Madden, running for clerk of court, has two activities going on this weekend. There's a Western Family Night on April 30th at 5 o'clock at the Wild Bill Arena. It's at 5085 Columbine Trail in Leland. She's sponsoring that with Sheriff Ingram, so there's going to be a lot of barrel races and a fun time to be had. There's a $5 fee to get in, but that doesn't go to Katie or the sheriff. That goes to cover the expenses for the activity. On Sunday, May 1st, Katie is joining with Sheriff Ingram, the DA John David, and Sarah McPherson, who's running for a judgeship, and they're having a family day at the local airport from 1 to 3 o'clock with family activities. It's fun for everyone to come and join and meet these people. So please come see what's going on. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the family day. With that, we have some other bills to pay.
You got that.
Paid for by the committee to elect Judge Michael Stadding. As a member of the United States Air Force, I stand for our nation. As a prosecutor, I took a stand against violent criminals. As an attorney for the Fraternal Order of Police, I took a stand for law and order. As a sitting conservative judge, I stand for our Constitution. And as a judge on the Court of Appeals, I will stand up for you. Vote for a battle-tested conservative. Stand with Stadding. Michael Stadding is a reservist for the United States Air Force. Use of his military rank, job titles does not imply endorsement by the Department of the Air Force or the Department of Defense.
Our founders expected judges to apply, not make, our laws. I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. More than 20 years ago, I began my legal career by joining the Marine Corps and taking an oath to support and defend the United States Constitution. As a justice on our state Supreme Court, I will continue to protect the Constitution by basing my rulings on the Founders' intent, not my personal views. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
My name is Brian Wilson. I'm running for District Court Judge. During my lifetime, I've gone from protecting your God-given and constitutional freedoms as a combat vet of the U.S. military to working locally as a carpenter building homes while I worked my way through college. For the past 17 years, I've been protecting and defending your constitutional rights in the courtroom. I'm currently protecting our rights of our most vulnerable, our children, as the guardian ad litem attorney advocate for the children of Brunswick, Columbus, and Bladen County. I've spent my career serving our country, our state, and our communities, so I ask that you continue your confidence by voting for me, Brian Wilson, in the primary elections on May 17th. Thank you.
Believe it or not, the conversation with you was so great we've run over again. So we're going to have to say goodbye real quick because we're overtiming it. So this is Bill Moore.
Mary Stillwell.
And Dan Roman.
Welcome you to come back next week to catch us in All Things Brunswick. And Jonathan and Hope, please come back again.
Yes.
We love you dearly.
Thank you so
Thank you
much for
so
the
much.
opportunity. And can I say something real quick?
Do I have a choice? Yes. Go.
Yes. Hey, make sure to follow me and look me up. JonathanUzcategui.com.
If you think for a minute they're going to be able to spell it. Let's try that for real. They're not going to be able to spell that in a minute. So try it again.
JonathanUzcategui.com.
Tough man to deal with.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.